Hey, it's VEDA Day 20. Let's talk about time travel. VEDA! I'm here with Andrew, who everybody knows, because Andrew and I just recently finished watching the first season of a show called Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Yes.
Based on a set of novels, well, 2 novels and sort of a third novel, by Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which you guys may have heard of. And then Max Landis, who Andrew likes a lot, turned it into a television show. The television show stars Elijah Wood and other people. We got into it just because he likes Max Landis, I like Douglas Adams, and we both like Elijah Wood, so it seemed like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most confusing television show I've ever seen in my life.
It is, but I liked it.
Yeah, me too.
Overall.
General overview of the show. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency is about a young gentleman named Dirk Gently who shows up at the home of Elijah Wood's character, Todd Bronsman, and basically convinces him that he solves a murder by following the flow of time and doesn't really look for clues. Stuff just leads him where he's supposed to go, and he's bringing Todd along for the journey, and they're bringing us along for the journey, and they are solving the murder of a prestigious businessman who died in a hotel room. And one of the first things we see is the hotel room. I'll let Andrew tell you about that.
It's a really amazing, well shot intro, kind of a pan out from one particular spot, and you start with a dead body, and then it pans through the whole room, and all this blood and more bodies, and blood is dripping, and kind of slow, almost slow motion, is like a freeze frame, where it's moving milliseconds, and you're just panning throughout this whole room and seeing bite marks through the walls and crushed pianos with bodies in it, and it's absolute insanity, and it looks like pure chaos in this white room. So the red blood is very bright, and it contrasts very well in the shot. And then when you get all the way into the room, you hear kittens a meowing kitten who comes into the shot and is picked up by a hand, and that's how they open the show. So that's literally the opening of the show. It's really well shot.
But then you have the core of what the show is, which is solving this murder. But within the first 20 minutes, it goes way off from that.
Well, first off, you don't even know that yet, because they focus on Todd before you meet Dirk.
The cool thing about starting with Todd, too, is that really also is sort of the audience's perspective. And so you know what Todd knows. And Todd is definitely confused for most of the show, which is good, because so are we. And then when he starts to figure stuff out in the later episodes, we figured it out. All right. I imagine from here we're going to get a little spoilery. So if you want to watch the show...
We already did.
Which you should, watch it now. And then come back. We're going to just talk character pairs that we're into. Dirk and Todd, first off. So they are a very, very weird pairing. Dirk...
Fun weird.
Yeah, fun weird. Dirk is the holistic detective. He just sort of leads where the universe takes him.
He's quirky.
And he has complete faith that the world is going to take him where it needs to go. Todd is a little bit more of a realist, but is willing to follow along. And they make a really good partner. They have a really good dynamic.
Willing is a loose term.
Okay. He's objects but keeps going.
And Dirk is kind of convinced that they're going to be friends. And you find out why he's convinced of that later, which is pretty interesting.
But they do form a pretty good partnership. They balance each other out really well. Dirk's optimism and Todd's realism and sort of together. The actions. Yeah. They come together really well. Throughout the show, they encounter other people. You learn a little bit that Dirk was maybe part of some sort of government something, which they're going to get into in season 2 very clearly by the end of season 1.
Yeah.
But that brings us to another set of characters, 4 of which are from Dirk's past, and 1 of which is from Todd's, and that's the Rowdy Three and Todd's sister. The Rowdy Three are 4 guys.
which is great. They
yeah.
never address why.
Yeah. But they're just these crazy guys in a beat-up, spray-painted van who show up and just beat the crap out of people with baseball bats and a tire iron in their fists. And they're mostly good guys.
Well, at first you just see them beat stuff up and then suck energy or something out of Dirk, and you're like, what are they doing? Are these guys bad guys? And then you kind of figure out throughout the show that they're not really bad guys, and they actually help save another character in the show, Amanda, who is very Todd's sister, and she has a disease where in her nerve system where she feels like something's happening to her, and she sees it she would see her hands on fire, and she literally felt to her body, her hands were on fire.
Yeah, it's like a hallucination, and it paralyzes her, and the Rowdy Three can suck that energy away, which sort of releases her from the hallucination.
Yeah, so they end up saving her, and she stays with them.
Yeah, and they're just great characters. They just pop in and out, and they beat people up, and they're just really fun. And then you can sort of see, it's really cool to see these guys who are wild and crazy and insane, but take such good care of Amanda. They envelop her into the fold. There's they're painting her nails in the back of the van.
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
really
always, they show up when she's in trouble.
They're one of the most likable sets of characters, and they don't really have any development.
And they do figure into Dirk's past and the whole part of some sort of government thing that we come to later. Another person that sort of has their own separate story and then comes together at the end is another holistic person, but this time a holistic assassin. This is Bart. She's my favorite character. Andrew really likes the Rowdy Three. I love Bart. She's ridiculous. I don't know who her characters are,
but Bart's also great.
So she just firmly believes that the universe just sets her up to kill who needs to be killed, and if she meets them, then she's supposed to kill them. But she runs into this guy named Ken, and she doesn't kill him, and they sort of become partners in a similar way that Dirk and Todd are partners.
Yeah, they do. They all kind of mirror each other in a little bit.
And they have a lot of similar conversations, which is really cool. There are several times where they talk about what holistic means and what they are and where they came from, where Bart and Dirk are saying the same things to Todd and Ken, and I really like that parallel. And it's very clear that there's something going on with Bart and Dirk in their past, and we're going to hopefully learn about that.
Yeah, they don't know who each other are, but they realize that they're connected.
So all of that is stuff that seems to be from Dirk's past and is going to
kind of in the
lead into
background
next season.
For most of the season.
Yeah.
Feels kind of background, and at the very end, it's very important.
The meat of this season centers around the Spring family. So there is the businessman who gets killed, but mostly it's his daughter Lydia who's been kidnapped. And the goal is to find Lydia. And to do that, they come across several other characters, and they have a lot of encounters. And they meet Farah, who was Lydia's bodyguard, and she sort of becomes another member of the group. And they meet Estevez and Zimmerfield, who are these missing persons cops who are also working the case.
And they feel like something's really fishy going on.
Something really fishy is going on. They all sort of wrap up together. And what it ends up doing is leading Dirk and Todd to this guy named Gordon Rimmer. And I'll let Andrew take this over because he likes...
So Gordon Rimmer is kind of the big bad in this season, in that you find out that they're using this technology they had found to put themselves into different bodies.
Put their souls into a different body.
Yeah, so their souls have been... And that's what they did to Lydia. You find out that Lydia is actually the dog. And the dog is now Lydia. So Lydia, the actress playing Lydia, literally acts like a dog for most of the season. And the corgi is Lydia, which is Rapunzel's body, which is the name of the dog, which we find all about at the end of the show. But he is kind of the big bad. And when they end up in the house, he's kind of funny. It's this heavy-set guy that has a very funny voice. So he talks like this a lot. Come here, Rapunzel. I don't care if I'm messed up. He's got a very funny voice.
He does have a very funny voice.
So it's kind of off-putting at first, but then he ends up being very dangerous later on and murders a woman in cold blood.
You have Gordon, who is part of this group that transfers their souls from body to body to body, and they've been around since the 1970s, right?
I think it was the 60s.
1960s.
60s, 70s was hippie era.
So they've been around since the 1960s, and they've been sort of transferring their souls to newer bodies and gaining power that way, like becoming rich and famous. And they are at war, you discover, with Spring, who was originally this guy named Zachariah Webb. In the 1880s, he invented this machine, and he basically invented this machine to time travel. A lot of things went wrong, and it disappears into the future and comes back kind of a mess. And so Zachariah Webb decides to travel into the future to find out what happened to his machine. And so he travels into the future and finds the group has taken the machine and they're claiming it as their own, and enters into this decades-long battle with them where he's time traveling back and forth trying to stop them, and they're swapping people's souls. And eventually it all comes to a head on the day that Spring dies. I like the way that the show sort of built. And it was confusing at first. Andrew and I definitely sat through the first few episodes and finished and were like, what the heck are we watching?
I had no idea. Sorry, we got a cat sneezing.
Yeah, my cat's sneezing. But that sort of confusion is what kind of drives you to watch the show, and I think it's well designed that way. And we're definitely excited for season 2, which starts in October. I think we should just wrap it up with a rating. Andrew?
I'll go with 4. I'll go a solid 4. I mean, if you ask me the first half, like after episode 4, I probably gone lower. But the way it wrapped together and everything really made sense, and like they showed you how it made sense too. Like I thought it rewards you for watching. So it's like it was basically like, hey, we're gonna throw a lot of crazy stuff at you, and then we're gonna give you little pieces, like a little like trail for you to eat, little bits, and then like you get the feast at the end where, hey, this is gonna make sense at the end, and then the stuff that's left is for next season.
Yeah, I will also go 4.5 maybe. I really enjoyed this show. I think I like to look at TV seasons as a whole rather than like individual episodes, and as a whole, this is a beautiful package.
Yep.
It's obviously very well developed from beginning to end, and even though I did feel lost around episode 3, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. But
we had the question if we were going to keep watching.
So beautifully. And then you can see when you finished how they spread it out through all the first episodes, and it's great. We definitely recommend that you check out Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. It's on Hulu. I'll see you tomorrow.
Nailed it.
There's gonna be so much editing. Blah. Let's see how long this is. Wait.
This is so much editing. Oh, I am Mallory. I have to edit all of the movies.
I can't even tell how long this is.
Oh my goodness, she's going to turn it off.